Good morning, children. So again with the same lesson. So first I start with some questions. So my first question is, who is Charlie? So Charlie is a 31-year-old boy. He is a simple boy, works in an office, and generally he is lost in his dream according to his plans. And once Charlie reached the third level of Grand Center Station of USA. Charlie had hobby of stamp collection. Question 2. What did he decide to do to reach his apartment soon? As you have read that once in the last summer when he was late in the office, he wanted to reach his apartment soon. So instead of catching the bus, he decided to take subway, means underground train. What kind of trains can one take from the first level of Grand Central? From the first level of Grand Central, one can take the trains which can be seen in the 20th century. Means like the trains of 20th century, one can take from the first level of Grand Central. Then next question is, what kind of trains can be taken from the second level of Grand Central? From the second level of Grand Central, one can take the train for suburbans. So these are my questions. Then in the last class, we have read that he reached second level of Grand Central Station, and then on the second level there was an arched doorway, curved doorway. He entered that doorway, and after that he was lost. Now let's see what happens. The corridor I was in began angling left and slanting downward, and I thought that was wrong. He says that when he entered that doorway, then through this doorway he came in a corridor, and the corridor turned left, and from there it was going downward. What happened? Through the arched doorway he entered a corridor. Corridor turned left and went downward, sloped downward. So he knew that he was lost. That was the wrong way. This way wouldn't take him to his own apartment. But still, he continued to walk. All I could hear was the empty sound of my own footsteps, and I didn't pass a soul. The tunnel, the corridor through which he was going was deserted, lonely. When he was walking, when he was crossing, he couldn't pass a single soul. Soul means here, he couldn't pass a single person. Only he was hearing the sound of his own footsteps. Then I heard that sort of hollow roar ahead that means open space and people talking. After that, he heard some sound which indicated him that ahead, just after walking a few steps, he would find an open space where some people are talking. He heard some hollow roar, some hollow sound, a sound which comes from the empty place. And this sound gave him signal that after a few steps, there is an open space where some people are talking. The tunnel turned sharp left. I went down a short flight of stairs and came out on the third level at Grand Central Station. After walking a few steps, the tunnel again turned left. And then he turned left. And after climbing down a few steps, a set of staircase, he came to the place which was third level of Grand Central Station. So how did he reach Grand Central Station? First of all, on the second level, he entered a doorway which was curved. When he entered the doorway, he found a corridor turning left and sloping down. He started going through that corridor. He knew that it was not the right path. It was wrong path. Still, he continued to go. And again, this tunnel took left turn. And after that, he climbed down a set of stairs and came to a place which was third level of Grand Central Station. For just a moment, I thought I was back on the second level. For some time, he thought that he has come back to the same place from where he had started. From where he had started from the second level. So for some time, he felt as if he had come back to the second level. But I saw the room was smaller, there were few ticket windows and train gates. But soon his doubt was cleared. Because as compared to the second level, on the third level, the room was smaller. And there were few ticket counters and there were few train gates as compared to the second level. So he understood that he had not come back to the second level, but it was another level, it was the third level. And the information booth in the center was wood and odd looking. And one more difference was the information booth, inquiry booth, was wooden, was made up of wood. And on the second level, it was different. And odd looking, not looking beautiful, ugly looking, not looking good. And the man in the booth wore a green eye shade and long black sleeve protectors. And the man who was sitting in the booth, who was sitting in the information booth, had put on green eye shade. Children, what is this green eye shade? In late 19th century and till mid-20th century, people used to put on this green eye shade to protect their eyes. What is this green eye shade? In late 19th century and till mid-20th century, people used to put on this green eye shade to protect their eyes. So he saw that the person who was sitting in the booth, information booth, had put on green eye shade and long black sleeve protectors to protect his sleeve. The lights were dim and short of flickering. Then I saw why. They were open flame gas lights. And the station was poor lit. The third floor was poor lit. The dim light was coming. The flickering light was there. Unsteady light going and coming. And why it was so? Then he saw that the light which was coming from the lamp, from the source, that was open flame gas lights. Actually, the station was lit with the light of open flame gas lights. So these were the differences between second floor and third floor. Comparatively, second floor was well lit, was more lighted. Comparatively, on second floor, the information booth was well established, better. There were brass spittoons on the floor, and on the floor one brass made container was kept for spitting purpose, to be used as a spitting container. It was in fact a spitting container. And across the station a glint of light caught my eye. A man was pulling a gold watch from his waist pocket. And then across the station, on the other side of a station, from the other side of a station, he saw some shining light, bright light. Where from this light came? The light came from the watch. And that was a man was putting gold watch. The shining light was coming from the gold watch. He saw that a man took the watch out of his pocket, waist pocket, the pocket which was near his chest. From that pocket, the man pulled the watch outside of his pocket and frowned, looked at the time, having angry expression on his face. Frown means to make angry expression on the face. So what did he see? Across the station, on the other side of the station, he saw some bright light, some shining, and the shining came from the gold watch. A man had taken out of his pocket one gold watch, and he just opened the cover of the watch. The watch was covered. He opened the cover of the watch and frowned at the watch. Means he looked at the watch with angry expression on his face. He snapped open the cover, glanced at his watch and frowned. He wore a derby hat, and the man who who had gold watch. He had put on a derby hat, a round hat, a bowler's hat, a black four-button suit with tiny lapels. And the man had put on a suit with four buttons, and the collar had continued. Lapel means the continuation of the collar. Suppose the collar is up to here, but it has continued up to this place. So this continuation of collar is called lapel. So now here the man is described. I think the man must be TT. No. So or station master maybe. So what had he put on? He had gold watch. He had put on bowler hat, heavy hat, and a four-buttoned suit, and four-buttoned suit with tiny lapels, with tiny continuation of the collar. And he had a big black handlebar mustache, and his mustache was like a handle of the bicycle. He had mustache just like the handle of the bicycle, black mustache. Then I looked around and saw that everyone in the station was dressed like 18, 19 something. And then he looked everywhere at the station, then he found no one was wearing the dress like the dress of 20th century. Everyone had put on the third level, everyone had put on the dress which was put on in 18th or 19th century. I never saw so many beards, sideburns, and fancy mustaches in my life. Whosoever he saw on the third level, everyone was either with mustache or with sideburns. Sideburns means side whiskers here in front of the ear on man's face. So whosoever he saw on the third level, he saw either with mustache or sideburns or beards. Charlie said that never in his life, he was 31 years old, but by now he had not seen so many beards and mustaches and sideburns. A woman walked in through the train gate. She wore a dress with leg of mutton sleeves and skirts to the top of her high buttoned shoes. Then he saw a woman who came through the train gate. He saw that the woman was wearing a dress whose sleeves were like the legs of sheep. The woman was wearing a dress whose sleeves were like the legs of the mutton. Mutton means here? Mutton. Sheep. And she had put on shoes, and her shoes were high button shoes. She had high button shoes, and above the shoes she had put on a skirt. So he saw such type of woman. It means such kind of dress was not popular in 20th century. Such kind of dresses were put on in 18th and 19th century. What does it mean? It means on third level, he saw that the people of 18th and 19th century were living. There was not a single man of 20th century. It means not only he reached the third level, he had gone in the past, in 19th century, 18th century. That's why everything, whether it was information booth, whether it was the watch, whether it was the green eye shade, or the dress of the woman, these all dresses were outdated in 20th century. These dresses were put on in late 18th century or in 19th century. It means not only he reached the third level, but he reached in the past, in 18th or 19th century. A woman walked in through the train gates. She wore a dress with leg of mutton sleeves and a skirt to the top of her high button shoes. What was the woman wearing? The woman was wearing a skirt, and below the skirt, high button shoes and a shirt whose sleeves were like the legs of mutton, like the legs of sheep. Back of her, out on the tracks, I caught a glimpse of a locomotive, a very small Carrier and Ives locomotive with a funnel-shaped stair. And behind the woman, on the tracks, on the line, on the railway line, he saw an engine. Locomotive is a railway engine. He saw a locomotive, a railway engine, which was of which company? Which was of Carrier and Ives. Carrier and Ives are the name of the American company. So this locomotive railway engine was of the company Carrier and Ives. He saw that railway engine with a funnel-shaped stair and the chimney which was carrying away the smoke. The large chimney of that railway engine, stack means here chimney, large chimney. Stack means STACK, stack, pile, heap. And here stack means a large chimney. The large chimney of the railway engine locomotive was funnel shaped, was like a funnel. And then I knew, and then he knew. So the statement is incomplete. What does he want to say? What did he know? He knew that he was not in 20th century. He had reached in 18th or 19th century. So children, that's all for today. Thank you.